And so what are you doing with the dogs? Mind control devices? I don't know.
Well, we actually, in a nutshell, are allowing dogs to communicate. It's one of the things that we're doing. So have to sort of start at the beginning. As I just told you, I have raised and trained service dogs for very many years. And so I'm very tuned into that problem space and the kinds of things that they do. I also have very close friends who have service dogs because of disabilities that they have. So I hang out with those folks a lot and I see what their lives are like. So I happen to be lucky enough to share a lab since 2006 with one of the pioneers of wearable computing, Dr. Thad Starner. He's a very close colleague, and we have done many, many, many things together. But it sort of shocks me that we shared a lab together for about 6 years before one of our other colleagues had the idea of, hey, what if we could put wearable computing on a dog? Because I usually have a dog with me. Because I'm raising and training them. Dogs in training have the same public access as a fully trained dog because we have to train them to be okay to be in any situation. So I would have a dog with me pretty much all the time. And it took us a while to come up with the idea that, hey, we could use technology for service dogs. And our colleague was thinking, well, we could make, pretty lights and make them, safety and that kind of thing. And then I sort of had an epiphany. It's like, wow, these dogs could call 911 in an emergency.
And they're trying to find a way to give working dogs a voice.
If we put a cell modem and some sort of an affordance on their service dog vest that they're already wearing, we could put a button on there. We could put something that you could tug. And these dogs could do a number of things. Anything you can do with a computer, these dogs could do. And so that is how the FIDO project started. That was our very first project. FIDO is a backronym that stands for Facilitating Interactions for Dogs with Occupations. So that is how we started thinking about what kinds of things, taking human-computer interaction, which is something that I teach, how do we take the theory and methods of human-computer interaction and take it into the animal world? Because we have a perfectly valid user, doesn't have hands, doesn't have opposable thumbs, but they have a nose, they have paws, they have all kinds of things they could use to activate sensors. And so we started to do some usability testing like we do for humans, but with dogs. We started with dogs since they're easiest to get a hold of. And we learned some incredible things. We started out thinking about what are the natural things that dogs do to interact with their environment. Well, they can bite things. They can hold things in their mouths and carry them around. They can bite on and tug something. These are all things that little puppies can do. They can touch things with their noses. They can touch things with their paws. So we looked at all of these things and said, okay, what's the most natural thing for these dogs to do to be able to activate a computer that's on their vest?
But if Barbara loses consciousness, Blitz had no way of alerting someone until now.
Excuse me, my owner needs your attention.
So we came up with 9 different sensors, 9 different affordances. Affordance is just the word we use in human-computer interaction. That means it's something that looks like it's how it's supposed to be used. Like a button is for pushing, a chair is for sitting, a slider is for sliding across. So what does that mean for dogs? So we had a wonderful time with this paper. This study that we did, and we discovered that dogs can indeed turn around and bite something that's on their vest. They can turn around and tug something that's on their vest. It's really hard for them to use their paws on something that's on the vest. So we kept it to a nose and snout interaction. But the dogs actually started to invent their own ways of interacting with it. So one of the things that we did was a proximity sensor on the vest, which is just like an automatic faucet. You wave your hand over it, and it turns the water on. Well, the dog would wave their nose over it, and it would activate the computer to do something, either send a text message to somebody or make a phone call to 911 or say something. We put a little speaker on there, and it would say, "Excuse me, my owner needs help." And it turned out that with this proximity sensor, the dogs, we thought they would touch it with their nose because that's a very natural thing that dogs do, is touch things with their noses. And the dogs ended up inventing gestures to activate the sensor. So they would wave their nose down, or they could wave their nose up, which made us think, we could have two different messages here, because they can interact with us in different ways. One dog did it with his ear. He just bent his head over and activated the sensor with his ear. And so we found out that our user is very engaged and has some opinions about how these things need to be used. So it was a fascinating study. We ended up sending the paper to the flagship conference, International Symposium on Wearable Computing, and we won Best Paper that year. So that was gratifying, because it really made me feel like the community of wearable technology, in particular, a lot of human-computer interaction people in there, were taking us seriously. That this was something that was not just a whim and not just a cute little project with dogs, that this is a real field. And we started reaching out to colleagues, mostly in Europe. Actually, there's some folks in Europe that have sort of about the same time frame started working on these kinds of problems. And we now have an animal-computer interaction conference. We have a whole community that is working in this field. And essentially, we helped create this new field. And that kind of thing, just I can't tell you how satisfying it is to see that we discovered a whole new problem space, a whole new set of things that need theory and methods, and how do we do this best for dogs? And of course, I also have 5 horses, so we started looking at what kinds of sensors can we use for horses to wear for things like detecting lameness, which is kind of a black art. Veterinarians are amazing at it, but it's very difficult to detect lameness in a horse and to really pinpoint what it is. So we developed some systems that would measure exactly the way the limbs were moving and things like that would help us figure out what's going on with the horse. And now there are actually commercial systems out there that you can buy to do that kind of thing. It's been an incredible ride, and I'm very proud to say that we are pioneers in this area, and that it is a serious research area now.